The biggest conversation piece I think that's going to continue to linger and happen here is Patrick Mahomes dead? Oof. And this is a fascinating thing because although the conversation isn't about the Titans that just beat the Bills, the conversation on Tuesday after the Titans beat the Bills, by the way, were, are the Bills still good? And then the Titans beat the Chiefs, and the conversation is, are the Chiefs dead? Maybe the Titans are just a wagon? Or do you think that there is cause for concern over there in Kansas City, AJ Hawk?
Well, I definitely think the Titans they fly under the radar here for how great of a game they had, just because it's so shocking to see them blow out a team like the Chiefs by so much. But yeah, I would have to be a little bit worried if I'm the Chiefs. Well, first off, I'm happy that Patrick Mahomes is okay. After that last hit he took, it looked like, I was like, man, best case scenario, that's a bad concussion. Worst case, it looked like a neck situation, how he got bent back and the knee hit his forehead. So yeah, I'm glad he's all right. But your defense is just giving up so many points now. It's a really, really tough way to win. I feel like Mahomes, he's throwing so many picks. He knows, hey, it is all on me. I have to do everything right now.
This is via StatMuse, and maybe the pressure of having to do everything is getting to Patrick Mahomes because the Chiefs are 3-4, and they are 32nd out of 32 teams in turnovers. Wow. They are 32nd out of 32 teams in points allowed, 32nd in yards allowed, 32nd in yards per play allowed, 31st in pass yards allowed, 31st in receiving yards allowed, 31st in rush yards allowed, 32nd in first downs allowed.
Damn.
That defense fucking stinks by every single stat imaginable. Every single one. I'm sure StatMuse could find more stats because that's what StatMuse does. But these particular stats here are damning for the defensive side of the ball. Now, you throw in the fact that on the offensive side, the quarterback is a young guy who has had the pressure of being the greatest of all time put on him immediately. Now, that pressure is earned by incredible performances, but also you throw in the fact that he was the biggest baby face in the NFL. The biggest baby. Everybody loved him. I liked him even more because he liked ketchup.
Yeah, that's right.
Seemed relatable. He was. He had to back up Alex Smith. He came out of nowhere, had success, had fun, was all this. Now he's got to deal with a $500 million expectation contract. He's got to deal with his brother disrespecting all the football gods at every single turn that he possibly can. He's got to deal with everything in his work. Do you think it's changed him? Do you think maybe he'll be able to get back on track? Do you think that we are all overreacting on this Overreaction Monday, in which it was a day that followed #trade Patrick Mahomes was on the internet and going hard in the Kansas City Chiefs fan base?
Well, first off, I absolutely do not think Patrick Mahomes is broken.
Good.
That's not a thing. That's not a possibility. I think they know what it looks like. They know what it feels like to play well. So they're going to eventually get back to that. I just don't know when. I thought it was going to be much sooner than it has. So they need to do something to change the momentum there in Kansas City. I don't know what it is. I really don't. Obviously, let's start defensively. And you put all of those stats up. The number one thing I care about, they are last when it comes to points allowed. That's all that matters to me. That's the biggest thing. It's so difficult. And then when you add in all of this, you're like, okay, teams aren't just kind of getting flukes over the top on us and we're good against the run. No, we're not good against anything defensively. And it puts your offense in a brutal spot. You can't run the ball. You can't do anything. You're playing from behind.
You're saying some of the stats are complete garbage and shouldn't be looked at because the design of the defense might be to give up some yards, but then whenever it comes time to score some points, we're going to tighten it down a little bit.
Yeah, and offenses should get yards. And how the rules are set up, how offenses are now, yeah, they're going to get yards, but how do you hold up in the red zone? Do you win the turnover battle? Things like that are what I care about.
So the points allowed is obviously an issue. And I would assume field position's also tough with the amount of turnovers. I think there's been 8 or 9 by Patrick Mahomes already this year. So the field position's not great when you're putting turnovers. Anybody says put the fire out. It seems like our Chiefs defense has never put the fire out this season.
Do you think so when you say he was the ultimate babyface and all of this, if people are changing their opinion on Patrick Mahomes, is it because of him or is it because of his family?
Well, it's all the shit. Yeah. $500 million, you're immediately, that's off. Yeah. That expectation's already there.
No matter what, no matter how you play, there's going to be a group of people. What do you mean you should play that way? He gets $500 million. That's going to always be there.
Then you got Jackson, you got his wife and his mom all having, even though they have a $500 million contract, it seems like all having a budgeting social media life and career and everything like that, which isn't always necessarily loved by everything. And I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes has to tell them not to do that. They shouldn't do that, do whatever. But Patrick Mahomes has to answer for some of that shit. You know what I mean? So that's just an added layer of, I don't want to say guilt, but maybe a negative feeling whenever something like Sean Taylor, who is widely respected by everybody in the football thing, happens, and it's Patrick Mahomes' brother, who Patrick probably feels like he has to go to bat for a lot with the water dumping and all these shit that potentially happens. Just all those things, I think, could be chipping away at a potential feeling that was had once by Patrick Mahomes as this guy that was beloved and balling and dominating, changing the game and being talked about. There's just more shit that comes with it as you grow older. Excited to watch Patrick kind of evolve into the player that has to deal with all this.
Well, and in that Washington game too, in the second half of that was when people were kind of saying like, "Oh, is he back? Like he looks good again." And then after the game, the only thing people are talking about is his brother dancing on Sean Taylor's number. I mean, whether it's subconscious or whatever, like there's no way that's not affecting you at least a little bit.
Yeah, you'd have to be an absolute stone cold narcissist, I guess, if you just didn't let anything affect how you perform. Now, granted, some people find solace in their arena where they can kind of get rid of everything. I have no idea, but I would assume it's all adding into there. He missed Kelsey on like 15 yards.
Yeah.
It was not. And then there's moments where he makes incredible throws and incredible plays. So it's like it's still in there. But
people forget that he's human. People forget that these quarterbacks are humans. That we feel like, yeah, of course, Tom Brady's not a human. What he's able to do at this age, how awesome he is. He's not. We say he's an alien on here, right? Don't you think he's at least a hybrid, probably?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't even got into the hybrid conversation yet. I'm not ready to go there. But.
Mahomes, maybe. Who knows what Mahomes is? But he's a human, too, and I don't know where he's at, like, mentally with all that, but you would think he's not in a great spot. Like, hey, man, whatever I do, this is just it's so difficult right now for me to make just like routine plays probably feel like they're much more difficult than they were in the past. So what do you have to do to kind of get out of that rut? I'm not sure.
I have no idea either. And this is not us saying that we are out on Patrick Mahomes. We're just trying to talk about, what could potentially be actually going on with Patrick Mahomes. And he'll never say this. This is something he can never say. It's family. It's he's getting paid $500 million. He can't say. But we can speculate because to AJ's point there, this isn't just a Madden rating. This isn't like these are humans who potentially have to go through stuff, and their moods potentially affect their drive, potentially affect their decision making, and how sometimes what's going on Monday through Saturday can affect the Sunday situation is a real thing. We have no idea. I've never talked to Patrick Mahomes in real life. I have invited him on the show. I'm not sure. Maybe he'll come on someday, hopefully. But we don't know, and we're just looking from afar. All that shit that is a distraction off the field could potentially add up.